with leadership, and life begins to move you along, career, opportunities, I believe the presence of the Holy Spirit begins to move you along, because promotion really doesn't come from the east or the west, it really does come from God. It is possible for life to lead you faster than your mind is prepared to handle. God can move you into such a place that positionally you are in a state of leadership, but mentally and emotionally you really haven't got a grip on what life has handed you. And if you don't know what you have, you don't know how to take care of it.
Dr. Lamb, the video sound is really glitchy.
The truth of the matter is, leaders come from ordinary places. They deal with ordinary issues. And I'm going to share some things with you that I think are very, very helpful for you to realize.
Okay. What do we think we could do to make the sound better?
Could you share the video link with us and have us sign out of here and watch the video and then come back in like 90 minutes?
What I'll do is I'll play this one. And if is it glitchy for everybody?
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to share a link then. Let me stop my share and then go back here.
We had a devil of a time finding it. I know a couple of you noted that it died on YouTube. And so this is a Facebook piece that I found, but it ran for me and it ran for you, didn't it, Dale?
Yeah. Yeah, it ran fine.
It was working yesterday, even when you checked it with us, but now it's just like, I don't know, it's really glitchy.
Maybe let's try it again. Start it over.
And we'll try one more time here. Let's see.
Well, it's much better at the beginning, and then it gets worse and worse.
What do you think, Jennifer?
I'm trying to figure out an alternative plan actually right now. So I'm looking to see if anybody else can pull it up. And it very well could be that since it's playing from Facebook, it's having to feed through that and then something else as to why the sound is.
I Googled it yesterday and it played fine. I just Googled it and found it and played it there. And it was fine.
I'm going to send Jennifer a link.
Okay.
All right, Jennifer, did you get the link?
I'm pulling it up right now. Okay.
And we'll let her share her screen. She may be able to figure out or get a better quality to it.
Maybe. I'm having to do from my phone because my computer decided not to work this morning. So let me give me 1 second. Okay. Here, and screen start. Okay. And link. Can y'all see it?
No.
Okay.
When you Googled it, Phyllis, did you find it? Did you find it outside of Facebook?
Actually, let me go to a desktop computer. Let's see if I can get that one fixed that way. Phyllis, if you can find it before me, I'll tag you in.
Okay, I don't think I found it outside of Facebook, but I do have it.
Phyllis, see if you can share your screen then, see what we get from yours.
Okay. Now it doesn't want to come up. Get behind us, Satan. Okay, nothing wants to come up. Oh, there it
Could
is.
you share that Facebook link to see if somebody else could?
Yeah, that's what I'm getting ready to do.
Okay, can you all see my screen? Uh-oh.
Yes.
It's gonna,
You got to share your sound though.
Uh-oh, how do I do that? Wait a minute. Okay, how do I share my
you
sound?
can tell that's muffling too.
Unshare the
freezing.
screen.
Unshare the screen?
Uh-huh.
Okay, all right.
And then when you click share screen, the
Okay.
lower left-hand corner, there'll be a checkbox.
Okay,
share
I
sound.
see it. There you go. Great, thank you. All right, can everybody see it now?
You. And if you don't know what you have, you don't know how to take care of it. If you don't know how to take care of it, you can mess around and lose it. The truth of the matter is, leaders come from ordinary places. They deal with ordinary issues. And I'm going to share some things with you that I think are very, very helpful for you to realize. First of all, I want you to understand that when you're saying to yourself that you want to be a great leader and you want to really go the extra mile and you want to do what has to be done, you're asking for trouble. You are absolutely asking for trouble. You're asking for trouble. And if you think about this a minute, you'll learn a very important concept that I think you need to understand. In the corporate world, in the business world, they actually pay you more money as you move up the ladder with more responsibility. Okay? So if you are a superintendent, you might not make as much as a general manager. A general manager might not make as much as a regional manager. A CEO would make more than a regional manager. Let me tell you something. They're paying you for conflict. Are you hearing what I'm saying? It's not enough to have the degrees. What they're paying you for is your ability to manage conflict and pressure and struggles. Let me speak it, since I'm in church, let me speak it in biblical language. To him whom much is given, much is required. And so the more that is placed into your hands, the more you have to be able to handle and deal with and to be able to manage it. And I want to say something to you, to those of you, all of us are leaders in some way. All of us are leaders, whether you're leading your children or whether you're leading your family or just leading yourself. Sometimes it's hard to get yourself to act right. But as we go up in levels of leadership and we begin to develop more responsibility, we also begin to embrace more pressure and more problems and more adversity, and new levels bring new devils, bring new challenges, bring new opportunities, more of everything. Somebody just say more of everything. So when you are where you are right now and you say, I can't take this, I can't handle this, I don't want any more, this is driving me crazy, you are saying, I don't want to go any higher. You are rejecting the call to move forward, because moving forward and moving up means more problems. In fact, the problems that you're dealing with right now may be the fact that you are in training for the next level of leadership. If you don't let it break you, if you don't let it destroy you, if you don't wimp out and let it beat you down, if you just master the situation, refuse to be intimidated, and learn how to manage the stress on the next level, then doors swing open. There's this magical thing about life, and I believe it's divinely inspired. You know how you go to the grocery store and you stand at a certain spot, you haven't even gotten to the door yet, but when you get in close proximity, the doors just start opening. When you can stand on a level of life where you're dealing with opposition and pressure and turmoil and take a licking and keep on ticking, and it might have stressed you out. You might have felt the pressure. You might have felt like breaking, but you didn't break. Doors just start opening up for you to go to the next level. I'm going to talk more about this in a minute, because when I start talking about dealing with conflict, all of the conflict is not external conflict. Some of it is internal conflict. Because when you come from back there and you start moving up further and further and further, and every step you take takes you to a different level of life and living, sometimes your life is moving faster than your mentality. You can have the desk you dreamed about, the position you wanted, the ministry you wanted, the opportunity you wanted, and everything moved up except your perception of yourself. Are you following what I'm saying to you? And we're going to share some things that I believe will prepare you for the next move. And I want you to understand something, that when God begins to move you along in life, it's not an elevator, it's a step-by-step process. So many people attempt to move forward in a rapid motion. They want to go from midnight to morning. They want to go from the basement to the presidential suite in one step. That's not what you want. You don't want to take the elevator, because if you take the elevator and you get it too fast, you can't handle it. You can't handle it. Oh, I know you want the money, but you can't handle the pressure and the problems and the conflict and the criticism and the opposition. And so God has designed it that you would move along in steps, in stages, not too fast. And every time you take a step, you have to kind of balance yourself and get used to this level of opposition, this level of controversy, this level of conflict, this level of criticism, because again, that's what they're paying you for, is managing trouble. Are you hearing what I'm saying to you? And just as soon as you get it all down pat, and you've mastered it, and you say, good, I'm comfortable now, this is now my new normal, I'm okay with it, then all of a sudden you take another step. You're back in a situation where you're learning again, and you're being hit in places you never expected to be hit before, and you're dealing with life on another level. And that happens whether you're in a corporation, whether you're in a church, or whether you're a family and you just had another child. Every time you have a child, new conflict, new problems, new things to deal with, more to manage, more to handle. You just got used to having one, you come back from the doctor, now you're getting ready to have two. Everything's got to shift, everything's got to move. Everything you learned about the first child doesn't work on the second child. Come on, somebody knows what I'm talking about. But God is so gracious, because he leads you along in steps and stages. And periodically, he will stop the process allow you to evaluate where you are, to better understand where you are, and put you in a position that you can deal with your heart and mind and emotions that may still be back there where you started. And people are jealous of you and envious of you and fighting you, and they don't understand that you still perceive yourself as if you were where you started. But the steps of the Lord are leading you higher and higher and further and further and further than you've ever been before. Touch somebody and say, take another step. There's another step waiting for you. There's another dimension of life, another dimension of leadership, another dimension of problems, another dimension of conflict, another dimension of faith and finances and family and all of that. And if you don't break, and if you don't bow, and if you don't quit, and if you can maintain your faith in the middle of conflict and opposition, if you can neutralize controversy and learn how to take a licking, keep on ticking, keep your mind together, keep your wits about you, then God has ordered steps for you. And I want to tell you something, your eyes have not seen, your ears have not heard the things that God has in store for you. He has a blessing for you. He has a promise for you. And all you have to do is stop complaining about where you are. Because when you complain about where you are, you do like Israel. You wander around the wilderness because you're not eligible to make the promotion because you're grumbling about the level you're on right now. You are canceling out the opportunity to go to the next level if you stop murmuring and complaining and say, I thank you for this conflict. I thank you for this opportunity. I thank you for this controversy. I thank you for this training. I thank you for this opposition. I thank you for this enemy. Order my steps, Lord. Order my steps. Get me ready. I trust you. You wouldn't lead me into this position if you had not equipped me with everything I need for where I am right now. Are you ready for this? Touch 3 people and say, take another step. 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 Don't be afraid. Don't be intimidated. Don't bow. Don't break. Don't give in. Don't collapse. All you have to do is take another step. Someone may be stressed out right now. You may be at your wit's end. You may be frustrated. But just touch your neighbor and say, God's got a plan. You may be seated. I've been talking to you to the singles about before you marry. I've been talking to the married people about before you give up, before you divorce, before you throw in the towel. There's some things that we need to understand and think about. And today I'm going to be talking about before you take the lead. We're always praying for increase. But before you reach out and take the increase, there are some things you need to know. John Quincy Adams said, if your actions inspire others to dream more, to learn more, to do more, and become more, then you are a leader. You don't need a title. You don't have to have an office. You don't have to have recognition. But if your actions inspire others to dream more, to do more, and to become more, then John Quincy Adams says you are, in fact, a leader. How many people know you're inspirational? I want to share some things just briefly out of the Gospel of St. Luke chapter 5, verse 1 through 11. I'm going to use it as a jumping off point to jump into a much broader issue, but I'm going to illustrate something here that I think is worth mentioning. The Gospel of St. Luke chapter 5, verse 1 through 11. And it came to pass that as the people pressed upon him to hear the word of God, he stood by the lake of Gennesaret and saw 2 ships standing by the lake, but the fishermen were gone out of them. They were washing their nets. He entered into one of the ships, which was Simon's, and prayed him that he would thrust out a little from the land. And he sat down and taught the people out of the ship. He sat down and taught the people out of the ship. Now, when he had left speaking, he said unto Simon, launch out into the deep and let down your nets for a drought. Now, you have to understand, Simon at this point is not even a disciple. He's a businessman. He owns a fishing company, and he was washing his nets because he thought, you know, there's not going to be any more for me. I'm at my wit's end. This is it for me, and I'll let this little preacher use my boat because I'm not catching anything. And he's washing his nets. He's finished. Jesus now says, because you let me use what you have, I'm going to increase what you have. Now when he had left speaking, he said to Simon, launch out into the deep and let down your nets for a drought. Now it takes faith, first of all, for Simon, who has washed his nets and thought that his day was over, to go back out there again. It takes faith after failure to try again. Just when you have decided in your own mind, I have gone as far as I'm going to go. And maybe it's not meant for me to catch anything. Maybe it's not meant for me to get married. Maybe it's not meant for me to move up any higher. Maybe it's not meant for me to have this position. He's washing his nets. And now the challenge comes, try it again. Some of you are flunking because you're still washing your nets when the word is saying, try it again. And Simon answered and said unto him, Master, we've toiled all night and we've taken nothing. Preacher, you might know something about the word. You don't know anything about fishing. You were raised by a carpenter. What do you know about fishing? He said, but nevertheless at thy word, I will let down the net. And when they had done this, they enclosed a great multitude of fish. Can you believe that God's got something great for you at a time you were washing your nets? It's amazing how you can go from failure into a massive release of blessing. And it was so much that the Bible says their nets begin to break. And they beckon unto their partners, when God blesses you, take somebody with you, which were in the other ships, that they should come and help them. And they came and filled both the ships so that they began to sink. Even the partners couldn't withstand the blessing and the release that was coming on them. See, this is a shouting spot right there. Because they went from failing and sinking and washing the nets one moment to such a blessing and a release that even the partners' boats began to sink because of the mess. I say that, now I don't say that for the people who are on their way. I say it for the people who have lost their homes or lost your job or had to move back in with your mother, or you had to get a used car from the garage place somewhere and you got Maypop tires, you know, may pop at any moment, and you're sitting around thinking that your life is over. There are some things that God can teach you that can get you back in the game again. Not only restore what you lost, but pull you out more than what you have prepared to be able to receive. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Now watch this, because this is what I really want you to see. I'm not really after this text, I'm after a point. When Simon Peter saw it, when he saw what had happened to him on the next level and the blessing, this is not a problem now. He saw the blessing that God was pouring out on his life. Instead of dancing, shouting, falling out in the floor, talking in tongues, and just having a spiritual conniption, he fell down at Jesus' knees saying, depart from me, for I am a sinful man, O Lord. Isn't that a weird reaction to a great blessing? He is now taking the lead, and instead of him taking the lead, he's rejecting the opportunity. Because sometimes life will offer you a blessing, but because you still perceive yourself as being in the back, you're not ready to receive the blessing on this next level of life. Not because of external conflict, because now everything externally is going well. But just because things are going well externally doesn't mean that things are going well internally. I'm telling you that your gift can take you some places that your mind isn't ready for, that sometimes your character isn't ready for, that your self-perception isn't ready for, and you will reject the blessing and say, just leave me alone. Leave me back here washing my nets, because now you've gone and done it. You've scared me. The Bible says, for he was astonished, and all that were with him, at the draught of fishes which were taken. And so was all James and John and the sons of Zebedee, which were partners with Simon. And Jesus said unto them, fear not, from henceforth thou shalt catch men. And when they had brought their ships to land, they forsook all and followed him. The whole problem was fear. Fear of the next level. Fear of taking the lead. Fear of going forward. Now, I want to talk about some things with fear. I want to talk about two different dimensions of fear that I want you to understand before you take the lead. I want to talk about the fear of failure. The fear of failure. Because many people don't go as far as they should go because they have apprehension that they won't reach their goal. So rather than to try and risk failing, they just say, I'm going to stay down here where I'm at and not try because I might lose. I might lose. I'm not going to try anything. I'm not going to own anything because I might lose it. I'm not going to buy a house because I might lose it. I'm not going to get married because I might get a divorce. I'm not going to apply for that position because I might not get it. That's madness, but that's how it is. Internal conflict. Have you given yourself permission to succeed? Or are you so intimidated by the fear of failure that you don't try? On the other side of it is the fear of success. Being afraid that you will reach your goal, but some disaster may result. These are mixed emotions. I want it, but I don't want all the stuff that comes with it. I don't want to deal with all the problems that come with it. I don't want to deal with all the disasters. I don't want to deal with the pressures that come with it. I can't handle it. I'm going to stay on this lower level. And when you do that and you reject God's opportunity, you are left with nothing but the hope of magic. Magic is when I'm just going to stay down here where it's comfortable, but some kind of magical way I'm believing that I'm going to get a blessing up here while I'm staying down here. You can't do it. It's like believing God that you're going to get pregnant and not gain weight. I want the baby, but I don't want the pregnancy. I don't want the weight. I don't want the stretch marks. I don't want to throw up in the morning. No, all of that goes along with the process. And if you will allow anyone, anything, any voice on the inside to talk you out of this moment, you will forfeit it and be stuck washing your nets when there's a great drought of fish waiting you if you have the courage to believe. What really stops us from taking the lead and coming to the forefront, a lot of times it's not the lack of talent, it's not the lack of resources, sometimes it's not the lack of education. I've been amazed at the people I have met who were highly educated and failing. Highly educated and failing. Highly educated and homeless. I worked with a guy who has a doctorate in economics and is washing cars. Just can't seem to get it together. So education alone is not the solution. I'm for education. I think it's important. It's a good thing, or we wouldn't have built the school next door. I think it's very important. But I have seen people educated and stuck. I've worked in penal institutions and seen people who were very gifted and incarcerated. Just because somebody is incarcerated or homeless doesn't mean that they don't have talent. In fact, I've seen people with less talent than you doing more than you. And until you're willing to look that in the face and say, what am I doing to sabotage my own success of moving to the next level, you'll never get there until you walk. And this is what causes jealousy and envy. When you look and you meet other people who have less to work with than you, and yet they're in higher positions than you, you can either become jealous or bitter, or you can begin to challenge yourself to say, what is wrong with my belief systems that's stopping me from going to the next level in this area? Okay, I want to deal with some irrational beliefs that will stop you from moving up to the next level. This is not about money necessarily. This is not about prestige necessarily. This is about progress. Because it's a shame to live long and have no progress. I want to have progress in every area of my life. I want to see progress in parenting. I want to see progress in my relationship with my wife. I want to see, if I'm going to go to work every day, I want to see progress. I've been washing these toilets for 27 years. At least let me be the manager of the toilet washers. In 27 years, I want to move up. Anybody, maybe it's wrong. Is there anybody in here that wants to move up? Okay. I'm going to point out some things that may be hindering you from reaching that, and some of you may already be reaching it. You may have already mastered this. Just endure this review, okay? I'm going to point out 6 things, 6 irrational belief patterns that may be hindering you from going to the next level. One of them is undeserving. I do not deserve the good measure that flows with success. I just don't deserve it. I just can't see myself as being in this position. I don't deserve it. This often comes from things that people said to you or about you. And they have convinced you, they programmed you to see yourself in a limited parameter. And so when you see opportunities beyond how you've been programmed, you reject it because you don't feel like you're deserving of it. The other one is beyond undeserving is ordinary. I do not want to stand apart or be different. I want to fit in. You'd be surprised at the people, because they have a belief system that holds on to being ordinary, they will not take the lead. I am afraid that I will become a target, and you will. I want to let me say that to you too, in the name of honesty. If you take the lead, you will become a target. But just because they're shooting at you doesn't mean they shot you. In fact, some of you should rejoice in the fact that somebody has emptied out their quiver of arrows shooting at you, and you are still here. And that person that wouldn't go out and do what you did for fear of being shot at didn't recognize that because of your faith and your convictions, you have been able to pass through the arrows that have been shot at you and survive. But you have to have courage to do that, and you have to get rid of your fear to do that, and you have to be able to see arrows zinging by you, people hating on you, controversy rising all around you, and you have to say like Job, though he slay me, yet shall I trust him. The third belief system that may be hindering you is social change. I fear rejection, loneliness, or claims that I have changed or sold out. I don't want to be rejected by my sociological environment. And this is very, very important to minorities. Because when you are a minority, there is a clannish survival mechanism that fits in, no matter what kind of minority you are in any situation. I was in Mexico a while ago, and a gentleman came up and said to me, if you're going to rent a boat, because I like to rent boats and go fishing, he said, if you're going to rent a boat for me, because I'm an American. Because in that setting, he was a minority. And the idea is we have to stick together. Watch out for we's. Because people will control you with a we. And you will miss your opportunity at what may be the best deal for you, trying to be loyal to the we. It's what we teach our children about peer pressure. And all of a sudden, in order to fit in your sociological environment, you passed up the promotion. You wouldn't buy the house that was the best deal for you because it moved you out of the neighborhood that you were defined by. You passed up the position that you wanted to take because now your girlfriends won't like you because you're now managing the girls you used to run with. And so in order to fit in, you're going to stay in the seat that I started this sermon from rather than to take your rightful place behind this rostrum because you want the people you're sitting beside to like you and accept you. Oh. And you don't want to be a sellout. Oh my. The next one I want to deal with is fleeting. My success will be temporal and I will not be able to sustain it. You have performance anxiety. You're afraid that it won't last. It won't last. Good things won't last. You don't want to go out on a date because if you go out on the date and you start a relationship and things start going well, it's not going to last. It's not going to last. It didn't last before. It didn't last with Fred. It didn't last with Jim. It's not going to last. I'm not going to take this position because if I get in this position, I may lose this job. It's not going to last. I'm not going to go back to school because I may not complete it. It will not last. And you have a fear that the blessing is fleeting. So you won't get back out on the boat and throw your nets again because you have already programmed yourself that nothing else exciting is ever going to happen to you again. And as I go through these belief systems, I want you to look for the ones that sound like you. Have I hit anything yet? The next one I want to talk about is perfectionism. I will have to behave as if I am perfect and I am not. I believe this was part of Peter's problem. When he saw the power of God to bless him, he recognized the power of God to destroy him. Think about that. When he saw the power of God to bless him, he recognized the power of God to destroy him. He said, "Get out of here, Jesus. Depart from me." Why? Because I know I've got imperfections. And I don't want to get in the light because somebody might see them. And so I'm going to be secretly talented. I'm going to sing at home. I'm going to leave the church and say what they ought to do and what somebody ought to say and what somebody ought to write a book about that and somebody ought to get up and say something. And I'm going to drive home locking my treasure up inside of me because I am imprisoned by my imperfections. And I don't want anybody to know that I'm not perfect. Even though I'm good at this, I'm weak at that. Peter said, "Look, you've made me a great fisherman, but I'm a sinful man. Go." I reject the opportunity to be blessed because I know something about myself that I don't want anybody else to know, and I'm more concerned about the security of my reputation than I am my progress. Perfectionism. I'm not going to get involved with him because if I get involved with him and he gets too close to me, he will see that I'm not perfect. Being able to balance your imperfection. They may not even be moral imperfections. In the case of dating, it may be physical imperfection. Oh no, he couldn't physically want me, I'm too fat. Where you don't give the person the chance to accept you because you've already criticized yourself over it. You'd be surprised at the people who talk other people out of loving them. Convince them that you're not a traitor. Oh, no, Lord, no, don't look at me, no, God, oh, God, no. You know exactly what to do to move up into the next position, but you don't want the light on you because you have issues. Newsflash, everybody has issues. Well, Pastor Robinson just shouted out junk in the trunk. Everybody has junk in the trunk. And if you're waiting to clean out all the junk before you put your pedal to the metal and drive and go forward, you may be stuck 20 years cleaning out the trunk. I'm going to go on to this next one. Besiegement. I will be besieged by others wanting things from me. My loved ones will feel entitled to a measure of my success. I don't want all the controversy that goes along with this. I don't want this. I don't want this. Don't give me the power of attorney, mama, because I don't want to deal with my sisters and brothers. Don't give me the position because if I become manager of the department, my friends won't invite me out anymore. And you start doing crazy things, trying to prove to them that you are still who you were, because people will put pressure on you to stay low. And all of a sudden you're afraid that they're going to demand things from you. And it is true, as you go up, there are a great deal of people who associate with you because of where you are and not who you are. And people start fighting over your level of success. If you don't believe it, talk to any NFL athlete, anybody who goes pro in sports. All of a sudden, people change when they think you got a little something, something. And all of a sudden it was just fine. They normally would just be talking about everything in life, but people have a way of having these little conversations. You know, child, I'm going through. I'm just going through. I'm just going through. I'm just going through. My rent's like 3 months behind, man. I know it ain't no big deal for somebody got all the kind of money you got, because you loaded, you don't have to deal with no kind of stuff like this. But you know, $2,400 would set me straight. That's probably change to you, but man, I'm telling you, the pressure is so great. When I was in South Africa years ago, and the first generation of blacks in South Africa who were oppressed in the apartheid were now freed and becoming successful, that some of the articles said some of them were ready to leave South Africa because so many people were pulling and clawing at them. Because when you first start going up amongst people who haven't gone up, they have a tendency to be like crabs in a barrel, and they start trying to pull you down because they say, you know, you're the first one in our family to get a degree. You ought to take care of this and you ought to take care of that. And after a while, they pull you down so low. Some of you know what I'm talking about. They pull you down so low and some people, for fear of having that pressure on them, forfeit the success and stay down rather than to go forward. I'm preaching. The inability to manage these fears creates self-sabotaging, self-handicapping situations where you're incapable of moving forward because you just can't handle the pressure on this level. And it makes you a chronic underachiever. A chronic underachiever. And when you start going up too high, you do little things subconsciously sometimes, unconsciously sometimes, to sabotage the next move so you can stay down here where it's safe. The maybe they'll like me better syndrome keeps you locked into a system that you can't get out of. It's true. It's true. And if you don't give yourself permission to go forward, you will cancel out your opportunity to lead, not because of external conflict, I'm gonna get to that next, but because of internal conflict. You're tripping over your own foot. You're talking that man out of your life. You're talking your boss to give that assignment to somebody else because you don't want to shine out and end up dealing with another level of problems. And so you're going to stay down here where you're comfortable, and you'll never become all that you can be because you can't deal with the conflicts you have inside of you. Are you following me? Now we're going to get to something else. We're going to talk about the external conflicts because you will have them. There is no way that you can go up and not have external conflicts. There is no way you can go where others have not gone and not find debris and obstacles in the way. That is to say that if you're a leader, now if you're a follower, you don't have to listen to this because whoever you're following will clear a path for you. And so you can just walk in their footsteps and get right behind them and say, ooh, this is so nice. This is so cool. This is so good. Thank God for all of those who've gone before me and cleared the way. But if you're a leader and you go where none have ever gone before, you encounter the sticker briars, you encounter the thorns, you encounter the adversity, and you're clearing a path for the next generation. You are supposed to have external conflicts. Anytime you are a trailblazer, you are going to have external conflicts because you are doing something that has never been done before. It will be defined often after you're dead. You'll be gone before people understand you. And if you have a need to be understood, you'll never go any further because you're doing something new. And whenever you do something new, people always reject it at first. Whenever you're doing something new, people always reject it at first. So if your need to be accepted becomes more powerful than your need to go and do something fresh, you will backtrack. You will just moonwalk like Michael Jackson, going all the way back into the safety zone. And whether you know it or not, you are imprisoned by fear. How many trailblazers do I have in here? Trailblazers clear the way and confront the conflict in a strategic, non-emotional way. You can't be a trailblazer and be all emotional. Oh God, and one more thing, Jesus. Oh Lord. Oh Lord God, what else? Clearing the debris in a non-emotional way, dealing with the conflict without being hysterical. The whole department is freaking out and everybody's upset. You can't be the manager and walk in the room and say, that's right. Leaders have to be the voice of reason. Can you deal with the external conflict in a non-emotional way? Your detachment from it emotionally is an expression of faith that you can handle it. Why would you become emotional about something you are called to fix? Do you notice how calm Jesus was when he heard Lazarus was dead? And it was his friend, and Jesus go, oh God, no, not Lazarus, no, oh God, not Lazarus. Anybody but Lazarus. I've been to Lazarus' house, I stayed. The reason he was calm, he was called to fix what other people were hysterical about. And if you believe that you can fix it, then why are you screaming? You either are going to be emotional or rational. Boxers will tell you, you will lose the fight if you get too angry. The moment they got, that's why they're talking, I'll knock you out, I'll kill your unborn children, I'll kill your mama and your grandmama. And they're trying to get you to be angry because when you're emotional, you're not rational. And winning is strategic. Touch three people and say, think like a winner, think like a winner, think like a winner. Now, if you don't understand this, you can only go so far. Now, there are degrees of leadership. I want to talk a little bit about this. There are degrees of leadership. You can be a leader, you can be a leader and not be the leader. So you don't want to just keep going up beyond your giftings and callings. You may be a leader and you may be called to lead in a myopic style. You can lead over a particular thing. You can lead over a particular dimension of a bigger organization. You don't want to be the CEO of the company, but you want to manage the marketing department. You say, I can handle this on this level. Don't let people push you beyond your competence. So you have to understand when you want to be challenged. Yes, you want to be stretched, but you don't want to pop. A rubber band is designed to be stretched. And when you stretch it, you're using it the way it was designed to be used. But if you overstretch it, you're going to break it. Have you learned your limitations? Do you know what's too much for you? What are your breaking points? What are your boundaries? Because if you don't know your boundaries, you don't know what would pop you. If you're going to be the leader, you can't have a 90-degree dimension of leadership and vision. You have to be able to see 360. 360. Talking to leaders, you have a room full of 90s and you're a 360. And I'm going to tell you, it is a very difficult thing to have a room full of 90s when you're a 360 thinker, because the 90-degree person will get angry because you made a decision that wasn't great for their department. But because you are in charge of the whole vision, you have to make a 360 decision and not a 90-degree decision, and you have to be strong enough to withstand the conflict that comes from your own team, because they are a myopic thinker. They think in a tunnel, and you hired them to think in a tunnel, and they're supposed to think in a tunnel, and they're supposed to be thinking about what's best for the marketing team, what's best for the publications, what's best for this department, what's best for that department, what's best for the choir, or whatever it is, but that is not your role. And if you stop thinking 360 and start thinking 90, then you become a micromanager and you come down from your position, and there you are directing the choir instead of doing what you're supposed to be doing. Am I saying anything that's helping anybody? When you are the leader, whether you're the leader of your house, it's a great deal of difference between a woman who is the head of her house, a single mother, and how she thinks and how she has to make decisions, as opposed to a married woman who has a husband and she has the luxury of thinking on one level, whereas you have to think like a woman and deal like a man. Because there's nobody for you to come home and tell them what happened at work, and I need you to go down and straighten those people out, and the mechanic lied to me. You have to be the person who's been lied to and the person who goes down there and say, wait a minute, this receipt said. Now, both women are a leader, but when you are the one in charge, you are the leader, and you have to think in a 360 and not in a 90. Are you following me? Now, when you do that, you're going to have some conflict. You're going to have some conflict from people who are legitimately with you. So you have to be a leader enough to understand that somebody can disagree with you and still be with you. And you have to have the wisdom to understand they disagree with you because from their perspective, it was not the best decision. Because they looked at, like for instance in this ministry, they looked at how many people we could feed if you brought the restaurant truck, and you didn't do it. You looked at, in order to buy the restaurant truck, we need more finances than what we have. It is a great idea, but buying the truck will sink the entire organization. So are you leader enough to have a disagreement with somebody without starting to dislike the person because they disagreed with you, understanding that that disagreement doesn't mean betrayal? But because your life's ability has put you in a 360 position, but you still have a back row mentality, now you're in a position with an old mentality that makes you so sensitive to anybody saying anything to you that rather than think, you fight. And you drive away people who were with you because they didn't understand the difference between being a leader and being the leader. That's a good clapping point right there. You missed it, but. So that brings me to my next point. So you have to become comfortable with controversy. Now, we all have controversy. But before you take the lead, you have to become comfortable with controversy. And what I love about God is that God will expose you. I got to come all the way down here. God will expose you to controversy on this level. So that, the only reason you're getting it on this level is so that you'll get tough enough to handle the controversy on this level. And then when you get to this level, about the time you get used to being shot at this level, he calls you on up to this level, and then to this level, and then to this level. And when you get up here, you want to go down there and thank all the people who fought you on this level, and this level, and this level, because they trained you to be able to handle controversy. God is preheating the oven, getting you ready so that you are now comfortable with what you are called to do, because controversy is part of the call. Either you will be controversial or what you did will be controversial, you will get it both ways. Some will, I don't like him. Others, I don't like what he did. Most people will say, I don't like him. Because most people are back row thinkers. They don't even think, I don't know him. They will bypass the fact that they don't know you and decide that they don't like you. What they really mean is, I don't like what you did. But they haven't progressed in their thinking enough to be able to communicate effectively. So they say, I don't like him. And if somebody would tap on their shoulder and say, have you met him? So from this day forward, I want you to make me a commitment that you will never again say that you don't like somebody that you don't. Controversy is so much a part of leadership. When I think of illustrations, I could think of some contemporary ones. All you have to do is look at the election and you can see that controversy is a part of leadership. But I won't use that one. I'll use Moses. I will bypass the opportunity to point out that the race to the White House is training you for the hell in the White House. Just because you're trying to do a good thing doesn't mean that you're going to be recognized for doing a good thing. And so as you moved into leadership, I want to get rid of that sensitive heart that you have from being on the back row and toughen it up a little bit to understand that not only will you have controversy from the people on the outside, but also the very people that you're trying to help will be fighting you while you're trying to help them. If you don't believe that, ask Moses what happened to him when he started leading the children of Israel out of Egypt, trying to save them and save their situation. He got more grief from the children of Israel than he did from Pharaoh, because often the people you're trying to help the most will be fighting you the most. I can't believe he brought us out here to die. He should have left us alone, kept us back there in Egypt where we were, kept us comfortable, kept us safe. And all the while he's trying to save them, they're trying to destroy him. He said he doesn't know what he's doing. He must be crazy. And you're trying to help people that are hurting you, and you're fighting off this over here, and you're trying to fight off them over there, and all of that you must become comfortable with if you're going to be a leader. How many of you have ever tried to help somebody who was hurting you? In fact, Moses becomes a good illustration of it, but as a leader, you need to develop the weaponry of Nehemiah. Nehemiah is a great illustration of great leadership, because Nehemiah is building back the walls of Jerusalem, which is helping the people of Jerusalem, while he is being fought on every side. And he begins to build the wall with a trowel in one hand, a trowel. But you cannot become so distracted by what you are called to do that you don't have a sword in the other hand to fight the people who are trying to kill your destiny. So you got to have a two-handed approach to leadership, building with one hand and fighting with the other. I got something for you this morning. I got something for you that's going to change how the rest of your year turns out. You can't stop building and just become engrossed in fighting, and you can't stop fighting and become engrossed in building. That's why God gave you two hands. Build with one and fight with the other. Woo. Tell somebody, say, don't forget you got two hands. Don't forget you got two hands. You got two hands. You can't stop building and you can't stop battling. You got to battle and build, battle and build, battle and build, battle and build, battle and build. In fact, the more you build, the more you battle. The more you build, the more you battle. The more you build, the more you battle. And finally, you get to a place where the folks who were fighting you will change their mind, and the wicked shall cease from troubling, and the weary shall be at rest. Tell somebody, say, I'm almost there, I'm almost there, I'm almost there. Whew. Are there any two-handed people here this morning? To him whom much is given, much is required. You cannot build anything that won't bring a battle. And if you're going through a battle right now, it's only because you're building something. Because people don't fight people who don't build. They'll only fight you. Look at your neighbor and say, the battle is because you're building. If you weren't building anything, nobody would battle you. If you weren't going forward, they wouldn't fight you. But the more you start building, the more you got to battle. Think it not strange that these trials have come upon you. This is a part of your job. Why are you here this morning? Because you're next. I was talking to Andy Young, and you know who he is and what a trailblazer he's been in this nation, not only working in our government, working in the civil rights movement, and just seeing so many things happen. And we were having a conversation. Then I was talking about the complexities of the time that we're in right now, the controversy that goes along with it, and the criticisms that you have to deal with, and all of that. And I said, you know, it's just terribly perplexing times now to be a leader and to be out front. He said, that's not anything new. I was looking for a little sympathy hookup, you know. He said, I was with Dr. King. He said, they were fighting him on every side. He was put out of his denomination. I'm not talking about, you hear about the FBI side and all of that, but you don't hear, because those who are preaching and saying they are the next Dr. Kings were the very ones who put him out. He said they were fighting him internally, they were fighting him externally, they were bugging his house, they were fighting him on every side, not to mention your own personal problems. And he said, yeah, some kind of way, Bishop. He said, we managed to make progress. He said, I don't know how we did it. He said, there was always murmuring and complaining and bickering, and we didn't know from day to day what was going to happen. We didn't agree amongst ourselves while we were marching. Sometimes we were debating issues, but some kind of way, we made progress until eventually we began to understand that we could not wait for the controversy to stop for the movement to go forward. And so I thought it was worth telling you, since you might not get to talk to Andy Young, that you can't wait for the controversy to stop for your movement to go forward. You just got to let them say whatever they're going to say, fight them back, and keep on building. I'm going to borrow one of Paula White's statements and say, slap your neighbor upside the head and say, you're next. Can I go just a little bit further? Surely you ought to think that Jesus was a great leader. Watch Jesus when he says to his disciples, who do men say that I am? Here comes controversy. You're controversial, Jesus. Some say that thou art Elias. Some say that thou art Jeremiah. Some say that thou art Esaias. And you are so controversial that your enemies don't agree. Now that's when it's getting good. When your enemies don't agree, you're getting good. Then he says to his followers, who do you say that I am? Now, before I quote what Peter said, let me underscore that it is not Peter's statement that amazes me. It is not the statement of the one that amazes me. It is the silence of the 11. Who do you say that I am? 11 disciples said nothing. So often when you are in leadership, you are leading people who do not know who you are. If you can get 1 out of 12 to understand who you are, then you're doing as good as Jesus anyway. You're doing pretty good. If one guy will speak up for you and say, thou art the Christ, I know who you are. You're the president of this company. I know who you are. You're the mastermind behind this project. I know. Most people who are sitting under you don't have a clue who you are, and they don't value who you are because they don't understand what they have. And if you don't understand what you've got, you can fool around and lose what you got because you don't understand the magnitude of what has been given. Again, to him whom much is given, much is required. That's not just on the person on the stage, but it's also on the people who are following them. It is much required of you to follow somebody close enough to have a clue who you've got. Anybody who's in leadership, you're leading somebody who doesn't know who you are, you're struggling to do it. Because you're being underappreciated, you're become frustrated. People will handle you any kind of way because they don't know the value of what they have. Your temptation is to walk away from people you're trying to help who don't know who you are. One guy says, thou art the Christ, the Son of the true and living God. I know who you are. I figured out, I have followed you long enough to know who you are. And on the basis of that knowledge, Peter gets to preach the inaugural message at the birthing of the church, because you cannot pass your mantle to people who do not know who you are. I don't have time to do this justice, because look at Elijah and Elijah. And Elijah says, I want a double portion of Elijah's spirit. He said, no, not yet. You haven't seen enough. When you've gone through this with me and that with me and the other with me and that way, and if you're still here when I'm taken up, now I'm going to give you a double portion of my glory, because you can't have my mantle if you don't know who I am. Ooh. Marriages are being lost because of it. Companies are being lost because of it. Family relationships are torn. Anytime you have any kind of structure and you have to lead people who don't know who you are, you're in trouble. I want to move on. Can I go further? This is my last Sunday to do this, so just bear with me just a little bit. The other thing I want you to understand that you have to have in order to be a leader is commitment. You have to be the last one to leave the ship. If you're going to lead, you have to hang tough. You cannot inspire people to follow your lack of commitment. You cannot inspire people to follow your lack of commitment. You cannot inspire people to follow your lack of commitment. People follow what they admire. You have to have the mentality that I'm going to be committed to this. And if you're going to be a great leader, do not commit to more than your competence. Have you ever seen people that volunteer for everything? I'm going to be in the choir, I'm going to be in the usher board, I'm going to be in this, I'm going to be in that, and then I'm going to be in that. I'm going down to Salvation Army, I'm going to do this. And their heart is so big that their head is shrinking. And in order to be effective, didn't that give you a visual? Did you say, like the wicked witch of the west, I'm shrinking, I'm shrinking, I'm shrinking. That's what's happening to the brain. It's just shrinking, because anything you're in charge of, you have to be committed to. You have to be committed to it. And if you're not committed to it, you're not going to be effective at it. And in order to be committed to it, you can't do it just for the check. You can buy competence, but you cannot buy commitment. Commitment has to come from the heart. It's a heart thing. It's not a check thing. It's a heart thing. It's not a check thing. And I want you to close the gap between where you get your money from and what you're committed to. Because if you're making money over here, but you're committed over there, eventually it's going to pull you apart. What you really want to do is be able to make your money where your commitment is, and then you will get paid for doing what you would do for free. Does anybody understand what I just said? That's a good old shouting point right there. Number 5, I want to talk about character. I want to talk about character because if you have commitment without character, you get Hitler. Commitment without character leads to all types of human atrocities. Anytime somebody is committed to something but they don't have character to undergird their commitment, it leads to monarchies, it leads to travesties, it leads to degradation, it leads to slavery, it leads to all types of human abuses of every kind, where people are committed without character. So do you have character enough to take the lead? Character to do what's right when everything's going wrong. Commitment without character leads to chaos. It is not so important. In fact, let me say it this way. You need to set some boundaries for yourself. Set some boundaries. It may not be important to determine what you will do as much as it is to be clear about what you won't do. So if you're trying to establish character, don't look so much at what you will do, because before life is over, in order to lead anything, you may have to do things that you never thought you'd have to do. You may have to sweep the floor and take out the trash if you're going to be a leader. You may have to mop up the kitchen even though you're the manager of the restaurant. You may have to do a whole lot of things that are not on your job description. So don't worry about what you will do. Character is determined by what you won't do. You say, I'm not going to sell out. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to take money out the cash register. What will you not do? And the more you can determine what you will not do, the more we can get a picture of your character. Is there anything that you won't do to get ahead? That ought to help you when you're dating somebody. Check out what they won't do. And if you want to know about somebody's character, watch how they treat people they don't need. Because people are always good to people they have to have. If you want to know whether their character is real good, I watch little things. Did you tip the bellman? Did you give something to the sky cab? Are you nice to the waitress? Because I'm trying to figure out who you really are. I know you're going to be nice to me because we're getting ready to do business. But I'm watching how you treat people that you perceive that you don't need. That is a sign of your character. Something is about to happen. 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 Normally when I'm in this vein and I'm teaching along this lines, something always breaks out, something always breaks loose. It's a setup for somebody. It's a setup for somebody. Somebody's getting ready to go to the next level. Doors are getting ready to open up for somebody. They're getting ready to break into another dimension. I don't know who I'm teaching. I don't know why you had to be here today, but something is about to happen before you do. Tell somebody, say, get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready. God, I got to stop because I'm not supposed to be shouting, but I feel a good old Holy Ghost shout. I feel a shift. I feel a supernatural release. You know why? The last shall be first. The tail is going to become the head. There's going to be a shifting in here from the background to the forefront. Before you do, you got to get ready for it. Come on, clap your hands. Something's about to happen. I got one more thing to do. I'm going to get out of your way. Tell somebody, say, we got to build a team. 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 Because we're getting ready to go someplace we've never gone before. We're getting ready to do things that we've never done before. We're getting ready to ascend to a height that we've never seen before. We're going to deal with some conflict that we never had before. We're going to face some controversy that we never had before. We're going to have some conflicts that we've never had to deal with before. But that's all right because we've got some character. We've got some character and we've got some commitment and we've got some staying power. Now we're going to pick the team. These are the people that you're gonna ride with. You're gonna ride shotgun with. These gonna be your road dogs and your running buddies. My God, something is about to happen. I'm gonna show you how to pick your team. The Bible spends more time showing us how Jesus picked his team than it does telling us about what he did. Most of the Gospels is spent telling you how he met his team. Because it's all about the 12, not the 5,000. It's about the 12, choosing the right team. Now, can I give you some things for the right team? I'm going to give you these final three. Some of you have heard this before, some of you have not. I'm going to give you these final three criteria to choose your team. One, you're going to have confidence. Okay? You're going to have confidence. You got to have confidence. You got to trust somebody. You cannot be a great leader and not have anybody you can talk to. You got to have somebody you can talk to and be honest and be open and say, this is how it really is. I'm really stressed out. I'm sick of all of them. I'm frustrated. It's getting on my nerves. You got to have a confidant. Somebody with whom you can be transparent and be honest. Out of the 12, you got to have some inner circle that get close around you. These are the guys you carry up on the Mount of Transfiguration. These are the road dogs who run with you and they see you and they understand you and they're your confidants. And if you have 3 in a lifetime, you've done real good. If you have 3 confidants in a lifetime that you can really trust and talk to and open up to, you've done real good. So this category is your smallest category. They are your confidants. They are people who are with you. They are with you. If you go up, they're with you. If you go down, they're with you. If you get stuck, they're with you. If everybody starts dogging on you and hating you, they're still with you. If you have 3, you've done really well. They know what you're afraid that somebody else will find out, and they're still with you. These are the people that being around them is so comfortable, you can behave as if you were by yourself. You don't get tired of your confidants because you don't have to change your behavior in their presence. The reason you get tired of being around people is because you're putting on. And you want them to leave so you can relax. But there is somebody that doesn't have to leave for you to relax because they're your confidants. They know who you really are. Oh my God, I'm teaching so good, I think I might get this tape myself. The confidant's commitment is to you. not to your cause. It is to you, not to your cause. The confidant is in it with you because of you, not because of your cause. You are the center of their gravitational pull. And if you have confidants, you have to remember to feed your confidants you. Because the confidant is not in it for the money, they're not in it for the prestige, they're not in it for the recognition, they're not in it for the title, they're in it because of you. And if you start starving your confidants of your attention, they will wither up and die, because their only attraction was not to the cause, it was always to you. I lost a very good employee one time over this, because I thought the guy was coming because of the cause, and in fact, he was coming because of me, and it didn't work out well in the position, because working in the position gave him less and less of me until he finally got frustrated and left. I thought he left over the money or left over the stress, and later when we did the debriefing, he left because he couldn't spend time with me. His commitment was to me and not to the cause. If you get that twisted, you will be feeding them things that would motivate anybody else, and they'll be withering, because a confidant lives and breathes off of their relationship with you. Oh, this is good. The second category is your constituents. Your constituents. Your constituents are with it. They are with it. They are with the cause, not you. They are only with you because of the cause. They will confuse you because they look just like a confidant. They're walking right beside you just like a confidant. They talk the same language as a confidant, but they are there because of the cause and not because of you. These are constituents. Their attraction is the mission. Now, you can still have them with you, but you have to know why they're with you. They are with you as long as you are getting them closer and closer to the mission. And they walk just like the confidant, but understand that the constituent will leap out of your fellowship and jump onto another person's fellowship because it's helping to get them closer to where they're trying to go. It was never about you in the first place. It was about the cause. And if it furthers their agenda, they'll leave you in a heartbeat and leave you with your heart broken because you thought they loved you. They never loved you. They loved what you do. And when they met somebody who could take them there quicker, they left you because it was never about you. It was about it. These are constituents. These three categories are divided by motives. The difference between the constituent and the confidant is motives. They do the same thing, but they do it for different reasons. And the reason people get it confused is because they're both doing the same thing. They're both working. They're both standing right beside you. They're both in it to win it. They're both trying to encourage you. They're both fighting the good fight. One of them will be with you even if the cause goes down. One of them will be with you even if somebody comes and offers them a quick road to get there without you. But the other one, if they see a quicker route, or if they think it might be a quicker route, they will leave you in a heartbeat. Well, I'm not going to pick anybody like that. You cannot have a room full of confidants. You have to be able to work with people who come and go. Am I helping anybody? These are constituents. They come and go. They come and go. I like to call them scaffolding. Scaffolding goes right up against the building. It snuggles up against the building. It's so tight up against the building, you can't get in between the scaffolding and the building. But when the building is up, the scaffolding goes. Some people come in your life to get you to your next destination. They didn't come to stay, they came to leave. You have to love them when they come, and love them when they go, and say, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Don't get bitter over constituents. If you get bitter over constituents, it's because your mentality is still back up there on that back row. And you don't understand that you have to be a 360 thinker in order to handle it. I don't know whether I ought to give y'all this, my good stuff. Can I give you a little bit more of this? So you've got these constituents, and they come, and this is driving pastors today crazy, because people today join churches for different reasons than ever before. Sometimes it's not their commitment to the pastor at all. It's not their commitment to him or his charisma or anything about that. Sometimes they'll join the church because the church feeds homeless people, and they have a passion for that, and they come and join their church because it doesn't have anything to do with your preaching. In fact, while you're preaching, they're out there handing soup out. And then when they leave, the pastor is angry. You can't get angry about that, man. You can't get angry. Thank God you served some soup. God bless you. Let's try this. Everybody. Oh, you did that good. Oh, you did that good. You did that good. Now, can you do that and not be bitter? Because in order for you to stay pure as a leader, if you don't get this now, you're going to become bitter and cynical and start fighting and lose the thing that got you there in the first place. As a leader, you have to be able to rejoice when people come, rejoice when they go. You got to be even keeled, because you got to know you're going to have all those different types of people. You got to know that everybody that comes doesn't stay. You cannot have a love affair with a temp. You knew when she came, she was going to work 6 months. That's why you call temporary services. No, I'm not working. See, you got to understand what I'm working on. I'm not working on the people that are coming and going. I'm working on the leader whose heart is broken about the people who are coming and going, because you are feeling like you're up there, but you are living like you're right here. And I'm trying to get those things to come together, that you begin to get the mentality of the position that you're in. I didn't blow the kiss to be crass. I'm talking about the attitude of greatness necessitates that you do more than love when they come. You have to, for survival's sake, get to the point that you can handle people leaving. Touch your neighbor and say, can you handle the truth? And while you're going through this, God will let people leave you and leave you and leave you until he trains you. And after a while, they can leave you and you still be cool. How you doing? Because you understand it wasn't about you. And when you have people in your life who are there for you, then you don't desperately need everybody in your whole world to be there for you. I'm trying to get you not to have a personal attitude in a professional situation. Because most people are living out their personal need in public places. Oh, God, give me this tape. I'm taking this tape. Give me 2 of them. Okay, so we got, we got, what do we have? Confidants. And we got constituents. Number 3, we're going to do comrades. 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 I'm your comrade. I'm in the fight with you. We will not stop, we will not deter, we will not desist until we have destroyed. I am here to help you fight. I am not for you. I am not for your cause. I am not for you. I am not what you are. I am not for what you are for. I am for what you are against. I joined up with you to help you fight what you are against. Lord have mercy. Comrades, when you are in a fight and somebody joins you in the fight, don't think they're your friend because they join you in the fight. It may not be their attraction to you that made them fight beside you. It may be their frustration against your enemy that says, even I hate you so bad that even if I have to fight with her to get you, I'm going to get you out of the way. And so they are your comrades. The Pharisees and the Sadducees didn't even like each other. But when Jesus came along, they both got, oh, I can speak it in any language. The Pharisees and the Sadducees had been hating on each other for years. But when Jesus came along, they both got together and they came to question Jesus. Those are comrades. Now watch this. Ooh. 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 Touch your neighbor, say, I see my team, I see my team. I see my team, I see my team, I see my team. I understand now. Whether I'm running a beauty shop or a computer business, I'm gonna have confidants, I'm gonna have constituents, and I'm gonna have comrades. And when it serves the purpose of moving what I'm the leader of forward, I will hook up with whoever I have to hook up with to do what I've got to do to get to the next level. There's nothing wrong with that as long as I understand which one of you is which. Don't let me get lonely and confide in a comrade, because then when the fight is over, you're going to use what I told you to kill. Oh, y'all don't talk to me. I'm helping somebody. I don't know who it is. See, that's what happened to you. You say your friend betrayed you, but they were never your friend in the first place. They didn't betray you, Sister Betty. They were never for you. They were just along for the ride to help you fight who you were fighting against. And then they will use what you confided in them to destroy you. Because one thing you can count on a fighter to do is fight. Now, we got your character. You understand your conflict. You understand your constituents and your comrades and your confidants. Now you've done it. Now you've done it. You have set yourself in the position that God was waiting on you to get in, to take you to the next dimension. Now you have done it. You have planted your feet firmly on the promises that you have inside, and you're now ready to go where none have never gone before and do what none have never. Now you've done it. You have determined that you're a blessed man or a blessed woman. And now that you understand that you are blessed, whatsoever you do shall prosper. Your leaf shall not wither. You're going to bring forth fruit in your own season, and everything you touch is going to prosper. You're not going to be set back by your fears. You're not going to be delayed by your emotions. You're not going to have to heal from your past pain. You know who you are. You know where you are. And most importantly, you know who they are. And once you know who they are, you can look up and say, I know whose I am, and I know who I am. Now you've done it. The demons are trembling. Hell is nervous. Satan is restless because you no longer believe that you have to stay in the back when you're called to the forefront. You're a leader called for such a time as this. And I want to tell you this, no weapon formed against you shall be able to prosper. And every tongue that riseth against you, God will condemn. For the battle is not yours. It belongs to God. So buckle up your bootstraps, gird your loins about your waist, and go into the enemy's camp and take back. Give me my house back. Give me my career back. Give me my job back. Give me my promotion back. Tell somebody, say, I'm going after my stuff. I'm going after my stuff. I'm going after my stuff. I'm going in the enemy's camp. I'm going to get it back. Give me my peace. Give me my joy. Give me my deliverance. Give me my integrity. Give me my authority. Give me my vision. Give me my purpose. Give me my goals. Give God a praise right now. Yes, 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 yes. Flat five people say, now you've done it, now you've done it. Now you've done it, now you've done it, now you've done it, now you've done it. The doors are opening, the doors are opening, the doors are opening, the doors are opening, the doors are opening. Pressed down, shaken together, running over, supernatural. Blessings on the right, blessings on the left, blessings in your uprising, blessings in it. Now you've done it. I dare you to praise it right now. Somebody and holler, do it. Do it. Do all that's in your heart. Do all that's in your heart. Do all that's on your mind. Do all that's in your spirit. Do all that's in your belly. Do all that's in your heart. Do it. Don't just dream about it. Don't just think about it. Don't just hope for it, but do it. The anointing is on you. One more thing I want to tell you. Everywhere your feet trod, God said, I'll give it to you. If you walk on it, I'll give it to you. If you step on it, I'll release it. If you stand, ow, ow. Everybody that I'd like to reach, but I need to borrow your hands. Slap five people, just say, do it, do it. When you get to the fifth one, give God a crazy, Holy Ghost, supernatural, divine your mark, get set, go! I need you to help me. Somebody's been right on the verge of greatness. You've been right on the verge of blessings. That's why you've been in the battle, because you're on the verge of blessing. But I pray that this message would be the tipping point that tips you over the edge. Shake your neighbor by the hand and say, on your mark. Touch that same neighbor and say, get set. Before the year is over, slap them again and holler, go!
The biggest disappointment from the semester is that we couldn't be face to face, because that's how Dale Lamb's lectures are as well. And he oftentimes has to use a handkerchief to wipe off the top of his head. We're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about this. I hope that you made some mental notes, or maybe wrote down a couple of things that you think can relate to leadership for you and others, and that's going to be our discussion. So what is it? 10:52. Let's come back at 11:05 and we'll start the discussion. All right, let's get back together. Okay, so in reading the chat line here, Leah started it off with the part at the beginning resonating with her from a historical context. That part at the beginning is what exposed me to the whole sermon. I had seen the first part of leadership starts at the back, and then as he proceeded to get into conflict, and you saw how the whole thing, there was a pause between Bishop Jakes being in the congregation and then coming down to the front. So when I tried to trace the link, it just kept going then with the sermon, and I started watching the sermon, and at that point didn't realize that it was an hour and a half, but there was so much in there that I think can resonate with us. So in our ed leadership program, in our 730 class, the ones that I do, this is the final exam, and so I try to use this as a kind of a springboard for people to relate, I guess, leadership traits and theory to their lives and see how it comes out. So anyway, Dale and I didn't want to do that as part of an exam, but we did want to do it as a discussion. So that's what we're going to do, and I hope it will be a healthy one for all of us. So I'm going to start it with asking each of you to give a takeaway, something that really, and some of you will have the same takeaways, and we understand that, but hopefully you had enough in there that you said, oh, that makes sense, or I can relate with that. So let's go around and see where we go. So on my screen, Elizabeth, you're the first one. And by the way, I think I saw that you will be proposing this week. Next week, right after Thanksgiving. So we will be pulling for you.
Thanks. So my takeaway from this sermon was a lot. So I'll just share.
We'll do one and we'll come back around, because I hope we all got a bunch.
Well, it was the 6 irrational internal conflicts, because I pretty much have all of them and I've always struggled with them. And it's just, I don't know, I feel like it's really hard to try to overcome these conflicts, especially because, like he said, when you're a minority, it's harder to like separate yourself from the group. I struggled with that, being the first one in my family to like graduate college, and then moving on to get my master's, and then moving on to get my doctorate. It kind of isolated me from my family because nobody else had done that before. And I didn't really have anybody to turn to for guidance. And then it happened again when I bought my first house here and closer to the beach, where my family lives, closer to Charlotte. And it's something that I guess you're always working on constantly, and you have to be aware of it. So that's something that resonated with me.
I guess to a certain extent, it's refreshing to know that the internal conflict you have is not unlike what others have, and because I mean, if it were unique to you, then Bishop Jakes wouldn't have a sermon, would he? I think he's trying to tell us that what you feel is natural, but it is overcomable, and you know, I don't know you well, but I would like to think that's one of the reasons you're doing this is just, you know, continuing to give yourself the foundation pieces and the confidence pieces for the next step, and each time you've done it. So good for you. All right, we'll come back around. Heather, a takeaway.
So I think the big aha for me, well, there was a lot of them, but one of the ones that really stuck out is the difference between being a leader and the leader. I've always looked at myself as a leader in things that I do, but there was a very distinct difference just in listening to him between being a leader and the leader, because being a leader means you can still be a follower. And so that was a big aha, big takeaway for me.
Yeah. And don't you see that with each position you have we tend to box ourselves in for the entity that we're leading without seeing the bigger and bigger and bigger picture. And indeed, that is why, you know, in your doctoral EDCI program, you got into a bigger view of district curricular leadership. So you've gone from classroom curricular leadership to school curricular leadership to district curricular leadership. So it keeps building on that, and the bigger the viewpoint, the more we have to have that 360 frame that he talked about. Rebecca, I see that the sun is shining through your window the way it is mine. I had to close my blinds too, or I'd be squinting. So
yeah. Mine was how to not let personal affect professional. When we did our strengths, I learned that I was a influencer and had woo. So I really sort of depend on relationships and overthink them. And I constantly have to remind myself, like if somebody doesn't want to work with me or, you know, leaves or whatnot, that it just not, they're not on the same page. They might not have the same goals. It's not necessarily me. So to separate that personal aspect.
not easy to do. It still hurts your feelings. But it is oftentimes that the disconnect is with the decision and not with the personality. So it's and we'll talk about that more too. Fellas.
Okay, the whole thing, I'm gonna watch it again. But for me, what I got out of it was how strong fear is and how it can keep you from moving into those leadership roles. And I'll share a story later if it gets back, but fear, how strong fear is and how it can be such a hindrance when it's time for you to step out of your comfort zone, you know, so much so that it'll keep you down when you know you can do more and be more. So fear, power, fear.
Yeah. I think it becomes more and more lonely as leadership evolves, and the fear of loneliness is a real fear too, and fear of failure. I think that was noted here was that from Andy? That it's because all of you, I would imagine, having risen to where you are, you have at least some desire for, I won't say perfection because we all are cognizant we're not going to be perfect, but for doing things well. And as Bishop Jakes talked about, those arrows are flying at us because everybody knows how to do it better than we do, don't they? And so it is a fear component there too. Andy.
So yeah, fear of failure, that was the part that resonated with me a lot, especially because like I tell my students all the time, like, don't be afraid to fail. You fail forward. And when I'm listening to this, I'm like, okay, maybe I'm just telling people that because failure to me is like the end of the world. And that's including anything that like relates to me. So like sometimes I think I can project that onto my kids. But my strength when I did the strengths finder was my number one was input. And so of course I get off of here and I start looking up other stuff that he talked about, that TD Jakes talked about. And on his website, he had a whole blog post, I guess, on you need to fail more often. And on here, it just says that like having that feel of failure will start your growth. And then he says, you can only succeed if you try. And if you try, you will likely fail enough and you just might succeed. And I'm thinking, man, I need to like post that above my computer on this wall because I need reminders of that.
Yeah. I'm glad we don't keep a scorecard of where we fall short of where we wanted to be on things. But the one thing about leadership is, I think Dale will affirm this, is, individually, we may not keep a scorecard of all the shortcomings, but there are plenty of people out there that are. And that is one of the fun things. You just keep getting reminded of those. So with every new idea, every new initiative, every new push, there's somebody say, yeah, and I remember when you, and it's, those are the kinds of things that you need something like Bishop Jakes to remind you that you're probably where you are because of things you failed with and had the resilience to bounce forward, as you say. So that was a good one. Ann, what'd you say?
Well, I really liked the part about, why we have two hands, and that if you're too busy fighting the fight and you're not making progress anymore, then you've kind of lost sight of why you're fighting the fight. But I think sometimes the fight can take the build out of us, and the build can take the fight out of us. And we just have to remember that the balance of the two, that's what gives the other one momentum. So if you can't, if you lose sight of one, then you've lost sight of both a little bit. And I think that was a good lesson for me to hear, because I've had to put a lot into the fight these past couple of years. And this year I'm in a place where I'm focusing a lot more on the build. And it just is good to remember that you do need a little bit of both. And then there was one other thing, and maybe some of y'all can help me because I didn't write this down, but I wanted to. When he was listing the 4 types of the characters that are in your life, the comrade and the, what were the other adjectives?
Great. There's your
Confidants,
yeah,
your colleagues and your comrades.
Yeah. Constituents, confidants, and comrades. And it started with the confidants, those who are with you because of you. And
well, that part also really resonated with me, and about how they wear masks, and you might think somebody is playing this role in your life, but they're really playing a different role.
Yes. So this whole sermon works well with politics, doesn't it?
Yes.
So the number one methodology in a political fight is to divert the attention of the opposing party or the opposing individual from the initiative they're trying to push through. So you try to get that person or that entity to be fighting you rather than building. And then that's the whole thing. It's a really neat thing, and you see that in the school business as well. When a school or a district wants to perform an initiative and somebody is opposed to it, they'll start an undercurrent of something that really probably is not related to it at all, just to divert your attention to fight that instead of staying focused on the initiative. Go ahead.
Will you remind me? So confidants are there for you, constituents are there for the cause.
Yeah. And comrades are against the same thing you're against.
They're just, they're with you to fight the common enemy. They are not with you at all. They may be your enemy, but
I
they're
got you.
somebody that's a bigger enemy. So they join forces with you, kind of like United States and Russia or Soviet Union in World War II. Hitler was a bigger threat, but now they hated one another and battled. And even after the war, we had the Cold War, but because Hitler was the bigger threat, and that's why he used the comrade reference. I've heard this. He makes that in another sermon that he talks about. That's his whole point. That's why he calls them comrades. That's what we were with Russia during World War II, because Hitler was the biggest threat.
I love that. And I might have to make a list and start putting people in groups.
That's my job, Santa Claus, making a list,
Yeah.
I'll
tell you what, it is important because one of the things he said is you better recognize who these people are, the comrades and the constituents, especially dividing between, who your confidants are. But sometimes if you think you've got somebody as a constituent and you share with them some of your game plan or some of your innermost organizational stuff, and you find out they're a comrade, they'll come back around and use it against you as soon as you finish that initial fight. And you see this a lot. And so you've got to kind of gauge, where these people are. And there's I guess a skill to that. The skill comes with, I think, experience and probably getting burned a couple times. And then you're a little more careful to gauge people. But yeah, I thought that was a really neat piece as well. Jennifer.
Well, that was one of the ones I was going to point out too, but especially knowing the difference between the three, because a lot of times for me, it's hard to know the difference with some of them, and I'll trust more than I should. And being aware of not trusting so much at the beginning until people have proven themselves, and being able to take that step when there's the open door. Because that was a biggie for me, that just knowing that, I think one of the things he said was that, not being afraid that it's going to go away, at one point, because it's like, when that opportunity knocks, go ahead and take the step and take it. And when you do, don't be afraid it's going to disappear. So that was mine.
There's a good one. Leah joined one of the dissertations. I don't know why you joined that. What was your tie into that? You just did it to do it?
I did. The timing worked for me.
Well, I'll tell you what, I was glad you were a part of it. And so was, I believe was that Cicely? Shay. I've had a bunch this past week. I couldn't remember, but yeah. So you helped design how she was gonna put that thing together. So she in fact she sent her update to her chair, and I got a copy of it yesterday. So
good for her.
Thank you for your input.
Yeah. So my takeaways kind of mirrored what Rebecca said about the professional versus personal, and Phyllis and Andy's comments about the fear. I feel like a lot of the points hit home with us, with this particular group of professionals, of people, because of the nature of our personalities as teachers, as students, as leaders, as just who we are. We want things to be as good as we can get them most of the time. And so we do have that fear of failure, and sometimes the lines between professional and personal can get very blurry for us, and the nature of our jobs and the nature of our hearts. But the other piece that hit me like a ton of bricks, and is kind of related to my dissertation as well, was when he was talking about the parts of leadership being about growth and about stretching. but not stretching so far that you break. And that seems to be the expectation for us in this profession right now, for us to continue to have this martyr syndrome. And that's the status quo, that we give up all of our free time and our finances and whatever to be the best and give the best. And I think we are breaking all of our rubber bands. So one of my takeaways is that it's okay to set boundaries while still grow and still stretch as leaders.
Yeah, and you're right, Leah. I think one of the he didn't word it this way. He's far better at it, but I think that goes back to there's a point where no is the right answer, and so I think he was trying to get that across, and that goes as either it's also important as a leader, and it's also important with the group that he talked about. If you go back to the 3 C's of the confidant and the constituent and the comrade, the comrade's probably not going to say it to you, but your confidant, those people that you really trust, I think can help you through some of these things that these challenges, and say, you know, it's okay to say no to that. And of course, we all are cognizant that there's also the other side of it, because the person asking you to do it is going to be disappointed when you say no. So it's this balance, and I think Bishop Jakes is trying to get us to understand that there are sacrifices to leadership, but there has to be a balance or we're going to fail. And he got into that stretching thing, you know, with the heart being so big and your head shrinking. Remember, that was I think an appropriate analogy, to say the least. All right, let's go back around. Elizabeth, is there another one?
Yeah, it was just basically what Leah said, was learning your limitation and not letting people push you beyond your competence. But I feel like that's kind of like a wheel, at least for me, it goes around in circles, because in my life I've had people say, oh, well, you're so good at this, you should try this. But in my mind, I know that I'm not ready for that. But then it goes back to that fear of failure and fear of success. Like, if I do take that leap, I may fail. And if I do succeed, I don't want like the burdens that come with it. So I think it's hard for me, or I'm still a work in progress, the difference between like knowing your limitations and putting your own limitations on yourself. Like, I don't know if that makes any sense, but I guess just the difference between knowing like who you are and what your limits are, and putting those on yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So.
Well, one of the things that Dale and I talked about at the very beginning, and I don't pretend that you would remember it, but it's something we both preach in our programs, because we both are in leadership programs. You know, that's what the L is in both of our programs, and his program leads to a principal's license, administrator license, which is why y'all are doing this. Mine leads to a superintendent license, which very few of the ones in my program actually want to be a superintendent, but but it's just a part of the program. And what we try to stress is that we're going to talk about the school business, because that's what we're in, but this is a leadership program. And so as we've gotten to know each other, and not as well as we had hoped with not being able to do face-to-face, but as we've gotten to know each other, you know, many of you are parents, many of you have a spouse or significant other that you share a lifetime with. You care for parents or you care for community members or all of these things, and it's all leadership. Is so it doesn't confine us to just can we lead a school or a school district. We would like you to consider that as an opportunity for you when you're ready to do it. And I think that's what you're saying, Elizabeth. When I'm ready to do it, I'll be ready to do it. I'm working my way to it. But the steps along the way are things that you're doing in your life every day. And so that I think I think that was another takeaway for me in Bishop Jake's sermon. I saw it after I'd even retired and had been retired from a superintendency. But now I'm relating it to, my home life, my church life, my Gardner Webb life, and all other facets of trying to figure out how to navigate through. And so I hope that that's something that maybe we can take away as well. So Dale and I are going to keep trying to give you confidence, and because you should have it. Every one of you are just absolute stars, and so that's a takeaway that he and I have. Let's go around again. Okay, the people moved around on my screen, so I'm back to Rebecca.
Okay, so I was thinking about what you just said and what Elizabeth just said and Leah, and I think it comes as more of a fear of failure, like letting people down, that I can't say no. So when he talks about stretching yourself too thin, like I think that comes from like my fear, and I have to realize no is okay, that I need to set my limits and know my limits and not push things I need to do in my life aside to, help out the school, whether it's driving the bus, working, football games, soccer games, or taking on extra classes, things like that.
Yeah.
Are you going to tell that cat no?
Can't
He's
tell
the
the
only
cat.
one not outside. The dog's laying on me too. So.
All right. So I want to interject right there, and I've written this down and circled it a couple of times because I'm seeing this emerge as the theme: the ability to say no. We all need to remember that God answers all prayers, but even He sometimes says no. So it's okay. You got to give yourself permission as well. If God can do that, certainly we can, because we're much less perfect. We are imperfect beings. But some that helps me. So maybe that'll help you.
I'm telling you, and as we've watched, Dale and I, we've shared this with y'all before. We've watched y'all as we come on and do story time at the beginning of class. I mean, every one of you stretched to the limit, and you do have to kind of weigh saying no and how is it going to get done. But I think the truth of the matter is, if your school or organization loses you, they're in a world of hurt. So you better take care of yourself before you worry so much about the organization. But I will also say that, going back to Maxwell, in that sacrifice piece, is that there are things we also give up as leaders, and sometimes we do allow ourselves to get stretched a little bit to make sure things get done. We just have to circle back around, as you said, Rebecca, and maybe let them stretch me this week. I'll drive the bus this week, and I'll do the soccer game Thursday. But next week, I got to do this for me. This is due, and I've got to do this, or I'm going out of town, or whatever it is. And so keeping that in mind. Phyllis.
Okay. As I was listening to this message was for me this morning, because I don't know if many of you know about or believe in prophetic teaching, but I had a minister who identifies as being a prophet. It was like New Year's Eve about 2 years ago, right during COVID. And I was scrolling through Facebook and I saw this minister and I passed by, and then something drew me back, and he started prophesying over me about having a position of leadership, and I just kind of played it off. I've never really listened to it before. And then just recently, I've been following him since then. A few weeks ago, he was very specific about the position. He was very, very specific about where it was going to take me. He was very specific about the area if I was going to move in, smaller district. And God knows that you're not qualified, that you feel you're not qualified, that you can't do it, and that you're not going to be successful at it. But God is saying, go do it. People are going to wonder how you got that position without any experience at all. And so for me, as Bishop Jakes was going through those fears, what's hindering you, all of it began to resonate with what this prophet, this pastor has been saying to me for years. And so now he's very specific. He's told me what area to look for this position in. And up until now, fear has been holding me down, keeping me from applying for this position because I know I'm not qualified. But I am a believer that if God sends you to a place or sends you somewhere to do what he's called you to do, that he's going to equip you to do what you have to do. So I'm going to step out there on faith, as he said, try to overcome those fears and see where God leads me. But this whole morning message was for me because I've been dealing with this and grappling with it on what I should do. And, fear has gotten the best of me these last 2 years. And so as I'm coming to the end of this program and the EDCI program, I got to step out there, and I know that God's gonna lead me there. So like I said, I'm gonna watch it again because it was so motivating, encouraging, and uplifting, and just what I needed to hear.
You need to send a note to the TD Jakes organization. They'll be glad to hear that.
I know I've met him before.
Well, I'll tell you what, I want to. I'm going to tell y'all that. So when the video, the YouTube disappeared, it was like a panic, and so it disappeared on my original link that I've been using, and they'll let me know that it didn't work anymore. So I searched again and found a different YouTube link, and now it's gone from every YouTube that I could find. And so in every means that my limitations take, I found this Facebook thing, but I don't Facebook. I have no knowledge of Facebook other than I know it's done a lot of damage as well as good, I guess. But I don't do Facebook. But so I sent Dale that link, and he figured out how to put it to this shape, and then Phyllis, you figured out how to show it. All that said, I called the TD Jakes organization, had the most wonderful time. I was on the phone with a lady named Deborah, and but if you don't know the date of the sermon, they have trouble. I mean, he's like done 1 million of them, so trying to find it. So if anybody can get through to TD Jakes and find a way to get a DVD of it or a link to it, which you can use now, please let me know. I think this is the kind of I'm going to make an editorial comment. This is one of the beauties of Gardner Webb, because as you know, state supported entities can't show this as easily, and so there's a limitation to what can be shown. We have no such limitation, and so I'd love to figure out a way to have some permanence to this, because I do think it impacts people. It's impacted me, and Phyllis, I'm so glad to know it's impacted you, and I think y'all can tell that one of the things I'm blessed with is I guess a bit of an ego, which is a curse as well. But even with this sermon, he puts it in a frame that you can that all of us can relate with. And so my shortcomings, he makes me feel better about, and the desire to do better, he gives me encouragement to do. So anyway, if anybody can find a way to get it, and Jennifer, thank you for that. I don't know how to do anything, as y'all know, but it's hard to be, my age and that inept, but it's what I've got. So Phyllis, I'm excited. I can't wait to hear more on that. That's going to be neat. Andy, you got another takeaway?
So I'm going to be honest. Wow, the sermon was powerful. I think a little bit of ADHD kind of kicked in for me, but I really like being able to talk about stuff with people. So I think I've gotten more from hearing what you guys are saying on everything. So I feel so much less alone. Sometimes I feel like in my life, the ability to, or the inability to say no is like a curse that I have, because my husband can say no like nobody's business. He is so good at being like, I'm not doing it. I don't do that. I'm not gonna do that. My mom has learned it as an administrator. My sister has always been good at it. My children, Lord, they know how to say no. Usually at me. But me, I do all the things, which is, y'all have been with me through the program. Y'all know that anytime somebody quits at my school, they're like, Andy, do you want to teach? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Or, hey, there's this club that needs sponsoring. You want to do it? Yep. Sign me up. You want to teach virtual kids? Yep. You want to teach 2 preps? Yep. What about a 3rd one? Sure. And so I just do whatever is asked of me. And I end up enjoying it. It's not ever been really a curse. It's just been a lot. So it's just nice to hear that that's a lot of our issue. Not maybe everybody, but a lot of us seem to have the same issue. And so it's a little bit less lonely now.
I imagine there are 10 of us on today, and we all 10 have that same feeling, Andy. Jennifer, I know you won't share the story you said no to, but or who you said no to, but congratulations for doing it.
I was so proud of myself. You guys don't even know. Like with Andy, I say yes to basically everything. But when our person who had disappeared that I had shared with y'all like from before,
Right.
I didn't want to leave the kids, just with nothing. I didn't want to leave them. So I just took over and started doing their plans, and had their assignments, had everything. And then there was the day when I went in and they were questioning why they even had to have a grade. They said, but if we don't have a teacher, we shouldn't have to have grades. It was the very illogical conversation. And I said, well, you can think how you want to think, but we're not going to have this conversation. I walked out of the classroom. I was very frustrated, a little bit hurt at the same time, but I was like, it's just kids. It's not a big deal. And I went and told the principal, I said, okay, they're yours now. I'll continue to put stuff up online, but I'm not going to go and take my time when they're going to be that disrespectful towards me, unless you're going to go and back me on it. Unless you're going to go in and say, here, this is being done for you. And, I totally understand. I said, that's good, because I'm not doing it anymore. And I do so much stuff. And Andy, I get you, because it is tough to say no. Because I feel like a lot of times we're all the glue. And I don't know about the rest of you, but do you feel like you're the glue for your school in everything? Because when you do that volunteering, or, somebody needs something and you're willing to do it, you're the glue. They come to you so that you can be that person that answers you, because you are the leader who is the one that will take that extra step and know what to do and say, okay, this is what we need, and get it done. Where other people may just be, kind of pussyfooting around and saying, oh, I don't know. But instead you take the initiative and you get it done. So they come to you. But and it wasn't just that, but I think that was like the kickstart of my saying no. Probably shouldn't have been it, but but there's been a few more opportunities as well. But instead of just always, I'm now, I think after having the program and just finally getting that opportunity to say no, like a really good say no, I've been able to then say, I need you to go in and do this. and you to do this, and working on the relationships I have with other people to delegate, which, you know, before this, I didn't delegate. I was not the one that would take that next step, and I just do it myself. But now I feel like after everything that we've been through, being able to go through all of the relationship building, how to read people, how to know what their strengths are, it's been a whole lot easier from this point. So I do feel like now with that, and after hearing this morning about, you know, going through those next steps, this was to prepare you, this next step was to prepare you. I got that preparation, and I feel like I am ready to take that next step and not be afraid of it anymore.
Good for you. And by the way, I think the fact that you shared this today kind of indicates that you have a comfort now with being able to say no. So I mean, it's there's one step to saying no, and then there's another step to understanding that we have to take care of ourselves. And it's you know, again, whoever the leader is of an entity, it is that person's job to ask people to do. I mean, we all recognize that. I mean, when Andy was sharing about her children being able to say no, it's Andy's job as mom to expect them to do or ask them to do if it's not necessarily an expectation. So it's you know, it comes with the territory of leadership. So it doesn't make the person an evil person to say, you know, will you do this, or I need you to do this. But it also doesn't make the person being asked a bad person to say, I can't do anymore. And so probably will strengthen the relationship down the road. Good for you, Jennifer. And I'll get up with you on making a recording. Thank you for that.
I'll send you a link that you like in a Google Drive or something that you can just have.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. I think it's like I said, for most, this is our first class in EDLS 730, and that's when I show it, just to get people saying, okay, you can do this as we go forward. Just spread your wings a little bit. And so that's how we try to get at it. And is there anything else you took away?
Yeah, another part that I thought was important for us to all take into consideration as we take on new endeavors is that there's going to be a switch, there's going to be a shift like everywhere in your life when you take on something new. And maybe other projects that we've been working on, we're going to have to let some other people kind of step up in those positions because we've taken on this other thing that we're also going to do now. And I think a good analogy he made is, you know, when you bring one more kid home from the hospital, like your family dynamic is going to change. I can't expect that I'm going to give every single kid equal amount of time or the time that they had before I brought that most recent kid home. And it's gonna affect all my relationships. It's gonna affect things at work and things at home, you know, both ways. When things at home change, it's gonna affect things at work. And when things at work change, it's gonna affect things at home. Just like this. They just got back from a spend the night party at grandma's house.
Yeah. Well, it does. And one of the things that is somewhat challenging to grasp is when you leave one place and go to another place, the
These are
people
very breakable.
that you have just left sometimes don't understand why you're not still married to them, if you will, that's the focus. But it can't be the focus because you now are responsible for another piece.
Put it by my coffee.
And so it does come into play that way. All right. I tell you, when y'all move around on the screen, I can't remember who I talked to and not. Okay, Heather.
I'm sorry.
I've got
I just turned off my video instead of my mute button right there. And one of our Christmas tree ornaments just got damaged. So I'm telling my mom, I can fix it later.
They do break easy. Heather, did you get another takeaway?
I did. It kind of piggybacks a little bit on what Ann was saying about the constant change. And I really liked the analogy he used on the stairs where he talked about each position that you rise into prepares you for the next. So it kind of resonated with me in the sense of like keeping your eye on the prize, like the ultimate goal, that with every step you take, there's going to be struggles, frustrations, confrontations, and it's just preparing you to be able to handle it in the next step of life, whatever that may be in terms of that. And there's that constant change that happens, but that kind of resonated with me, that especially now, because in the midst of everything going on and work, trying to put the dissertation piece together and finishing up this class, like there have been frustrations and struggles throughout. And it's kind of reminded me that once I'm done with this and I'm in that next role, those struggles and frustrations that are like it is now are going to be easy to deal with because I've had the experience and I've been able to learn from it, preparing me for what's next.
Right, right, and it does, and the struggles. You know, he talked early about emotional decisions, and you can't get too worked up with emotion, or you're going to lose some sense of rationality. And it does, you know, the trials that all of you have been through professionally and with Gardner Webb and otherwise, these things are, for lack of a better term, hardening you to all of these challenges that converge, and you will be better with it going forward. There will be an emotional decision, which oftentimes leads to sometimes a less than perfect decision. It allows you to process it through. So I think he got to that early, is to try to take the emotion out of decision making and try to think through and play on the experiences that you've had. So I agree, Heather. It's and you know, all of you have added to your you know, your wherewithal to withstand, you know, whatever life brings through this program, but more so through all of your life experiences, which are profound. Leah, is there another takeaway?
I'm working on kind of synthesizing what Jake said that we've talked about fear of failure, fear to take the next step up and forward, stretching but not snapping, and just kind of what everybody's talking about. And I think it's really applicable to whatever that next step looks like. I'm not sure what it is yet, but I'm just processing.
Yeah. One of the things that intrigued me about how he set up this sermon, and I think it was, well, I know it was intentional because he's so gifted to do it. But did you notice how many words began with C? If you get it, so I was trying to remember all of them, and I was writing them down. So one of the things he wants us is, as adults and leaders, is to develop a comfort with controversy. You remember when he said that? A comfort with controversy. And and you know, if somebody was just taking that and pulling it out of context, they would say, you know, does that mean you like controversy? Well, none of us like controversy, but those of us who can manage controversy are able to make or take the next step that is needed for your family or your organization or whatever entity we're talking about. And so, you know, I don't guess any of us really like controversy, but if we don't let it just make us go crazy, we usually are able to, you know, it was like, I know Dale will talk about as a principal that he and I will share stories every once in a while. The parent who is angry at the school and comes in profane and railing, I know I'm going to win that. I absolutely know I'm going to win that. I don't have any problem. I just let them rail for a while and then I'll take over and go. That one who's calm and sits down and has methodically worked out their argument, I'm in trouble. We're in trouble. And so it's this, and so that parent has wrapped up their emotions in a way that they can rationally present their case. And those who can do it, you know, he got into, you know, the boxer who tries to bait the opponent and get them all emotional. If the one who hits the emotion button is going to lose in most cases. And so I think that's an important takeaway. But he got comfort with controversy. He got into commitment and character, and then he got into building the team with confidants, constituents, and comrades. So all of those C words that I think we could you know, put as a part of, and then he began it with conflict. That our ability to manage conflict is what leadership is. He defined leadership as our ability to manage conflict. So conflict, comfortable with controversy, commitment to the cause, strong character, and then your team of confidants, constituents, and comrades. All those C's. All right, who else has got one? I won't go around the horn again, but does anybody have another one that resonates? Because I got one more that resonated with me.
I think too, and I put this in the chat, that the takeaways are interesting in that they're applicable probably to all of us. I don't want to speak for all of us, but to several of us for sure, professionally and personally, as we kind of look forward to what our next chapter looks like.
I think I agree. And you know, Dale and I are a different generation than you folks, but it no less relates to us than it does you. We still have to navigate life, and you know, we in our respective roles of professionally and in the community, people still look to us because of the quote wisdom that you get through experience. So it comes into play with that, and so I guess that's why I like it so much, and I do think that if we can break down the barrier of fear, we have really done something special in our lives, and there are things that I'm not afraid of that maybe you are, and there are things that you're not afraid of that I know I am afraid of. So it's incumbent upon us to try to break down that barrier for us and take the next step, as he talked about. One other thing he brought up, and I thought this was important, and I think all of you have demonstrated in here that you are just masterful at this, and it'll continue in whatever leadership role you take on. And that is this. He said that you cannot pass your mantle to people who don't know who you are. And I thought one of the things we talked about early, and we talk about in EDLS and in other programs, is that if you are new to a school or new to a district, it is important early on that the people need to know who you are. And this piece of really being able to tell people this is Steve Laws. Now, you know, if I told everything, then they would never ever want to work with me. But you tell the things that you think and you hope they want to hear about you, that can bring them into the same goals that we should share together. And so I think that maybe as important a thing. It's one of those things that he said that may fly under the radar a little bit. And I guess it does, because usually when I show this, that is not one of the things that's talked about. But it is important that people get to know who you are if they're going to follow you. And so if that's the case, then it begins with each of us being very comfortable with who we are. And so I would say that if we are comfortable with who we are and are willing to expose ourselves to others in sharing who we are, then we can pretty much discount the fear factor to the extent that we may have it in ourselves now. And because we're not gonna, I don't think the good leader gets up and says, you know, I'm Steve Laws and this is what I cannot do. Now, obviously, all of y'all know, you know, in short order, that technology is one of many things I cannot do. But there, you know, I don't think you get up and just make a list of what I cannot do. What you do as a leader is try to share those things that, if we work together, can be accomplished. And that would take a sharing of a vision. And that is the kind of thing that I think Bishop Jakes is trying to get across. So again, sharing with others who we are is an important piece of leadership. And I thought he did a really neat segment on that. All right, anything else before we going around for final thoughts and Dale's thought? Anybody noticed how long his beard's getting? It's just, he's really got the look now. Just amazing. And he's one of those great Santa Clauses that doesn't have to put a pillow in his suit to make it fit. Okay. Any other thoughts from anybody else? All right. Yeah. Dale, you got
How much time have I got? I got till 4 o'clock or 1 o'clock.
You got a customer there. Yeah.
All right. There's my, you can see my picture in the corner up here of Luann's newest grandbaby, with Santa. All right. So I want to go through a couple things here. I want to point out, I'm not trying to steal Bishop Jake's thunder, but I want to expand on a couple of things he talked about. The notion of your confidants, constituents and comrades, I need for you to understand, or we need for you to understand. People will tell you who they are. You just got to listen. And part of what you learned in your methodology block in the EDCI program was qualitative data collection. And that's where that kicks in. You listen. Information is data. Don't ignore it. People will tell you who they are. It's up to you to know who those people are, and that's on you. The second time the flasher opens his overcoat, he's not wearing a three-piece suit. He's still naked. You got to know that. That people will show and tell you who they are. And then you have to, it's up to you as the leader to put them in those categories. Steve and I talked about this Friday. Don't be angry when people leave you. They were there for the cause, or they're there for themselves. They're doing what's best for them. They haven't betrayed you. Business is business. Don't make your professional life personal. That happens a lot in our business. You've got to be above that if you're going to be a leader. Remember, leadership's not a position. It's a series of actions that inspire and motivate others to action. You can lead from where you are. So it doesn't matter what your position is now. When you leave yourself, as you grow and move into positions, my wife one time asked me, said, how do you have such a relationship with these people? How do you just walk away? I said, well, honey, the first thing I do when I get in the truck is I flip up the rearview mirror. Can't look back. And people have to understand that you can't maintain the same relationships you had with them when you have responsibilities to the new group. And so you have to be able to do that. I want to talk about Japan for a minute. Shortly, around the middle or late July of 1953, the Korean War was over, and my dad left the hill he was on in Korea, and he spent the rest of his tour overseas in Japan. And you know that Japan had been our enemy in World War II, and we rebuilt their country physically and economically, and they came along, and that came back to bite us in the 1970s. Their cars were better than ours. They were ahead of us in technology. That they really wore us out economically in the 70s. You probably don't remember the win buttons, WIN, whip inflation now. When I bought my first house in 1985, the interest rate on a home mortgage was 17.5%. Car loans were around 20%. That's what Japan did to our economy. They were not our friends. They were not our colleagues or constituents. They were our comrades. They were our enemy. But the lesson to be learned from Japan is that even those people can push you to be better, and that's what they did to the American economy. Our cars got better, our technology got better, our research, we got better because of them. And I guess that's my final thought this morning on Jake's is you have confidants, you have constituents, and you have colleagues. They all are useful in your growth and development. Sometimes it's those colleagues, the people who aren't with you, who push you the hardest and make you grow the most and get the best out of you. So they all three play useful roles in your development and the organization that you're leading. Don't look at any of them as enemies. Don't feel like it's a conflict situation with them. Use that. Take that growth and that pain and that pressure, that push that they give you. That's all part of it too. And then my final thought is the one that we kind of the central theme this morning. Leadership is conflict. And if you don't understand that, you're in the wrong business. They don't hire you when things go well. They don't need you when things go well. You can't grow and develop when things go well. It's like diamonds. We all start out as coal. It's the pressure that makes us diamond. the conflict. I've enjoyed our time together this semester. Again, I welcome you at 11 o'clock on Saturday, December the 11th at the Tucker Center for the College of Education ceremony. We will be there in full regalia and all of our glory. You'll get to see just how big I really am. Thankfully, I'm tall enough that they don't make me wear stripes so they can tell if I'm walking or rolling. But and that's a handy piece of information to have if you're downhill from me. But you'll get to see us, and we'll get to see you again. The ceremony is reserved for when you graduate from EDCI, but we would love to see you at our College of Education ceremony. We will recognize you if you come, so we'd love to see you in a couple of weeks. Again, thank you for choosing Gardner Webb, and thank you for choosing our course. We hope that we have added value. That's always our goal, not to be loved or revered or adored. Our goal is to add value, and we hope that we did that. So we thank you.
And I can't do better than that. It's been an honor getting to know you. I really wish we could have been together. But I hope that we will have opportunity going forward to meet one another and share with one another. If you can use us in any way to read something or to just blow off steam, we're pretty good at listening to that, and we will be happy to just let you share some frustration if that's what you felt the need to do, or if you just want to talk about anything else or opportunities that come forth. I think that if nothing else, I think one of the things that Bishop Jakes, who, and I do believe he was the voice of God in this sermon, should tell us all is that we are all blessed with gifts. And I think it is up to us to take advantage of the gifts we have and share them with others so that we can help them be better at their lives. And you folks are so talented. Don't limit yourself to what you can do for humankind. And that doesn't mean you need to be a principal or any other particular position. It just means take what you have and share with others. And thank you for sharing with us this semester. Elizabeth, good luck with your proposal. I know you're going to do great. Sounds like your voice is a little hoarse today, so gargle before you come for that, and or before you do it online. And the rest of you, please stay in touch. A couple of you still owe work. Don't forget that. With even with the APSL, don't forget to check, make sure you've done all that. And I know some stuff for Dale. The semester will end in a couple of weeks. Last thing, it's Thanksgiving week, and for most of us, it's our favorite holiday. So happy Thanksgiving, and we are thankful for you. See you, everybody.